Hello, welcome to Thrive Hive Live, where we're stepping through the steps it takes to build your business one at a time or two at a time today. Every week I go live Monday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern to talk about something that you need to know in order to really understand how to run your business. So a few things before we get started. I will say what is maybe a bit different with Thrive Hive is we're really looking at the nuts and bolts of building your business. Last week, that meant we were looking at what's the best way to have a sales call that actually works. Today, we're looking at the first look of your money. And so each week we'll move forward with something else. Next week, we're talking about your service agreements, which spoiler alert there. Yes, it's something that keeps things clear for your clients, but it really creates some sanity for the business owner as well when we really understand our service agreements up front. So there's a little spoiler alert there. This is based on 21 steps to launch your business. That's a roadmap because not everybody needs all 21 steps. Some people have visited some of those spots before and they're good. Some folks might need just a little bit more information in order to make up their mind. And so it's a resource that's available. But the real power of Thrive Hive is community. So we do have a community with about 20 solopreneurs involved where we get together and chat about 3 times a month. We have weekly sessions in our boards. And of course, we're doing these as well. So if you could use a little community with people who've maybe been down this road ahead of you to ask questions of, we'd love to have you in Thrive Hive. See the description for more information. Let's see. Also within the description, you'll find a link to download the course workbook that you'll see me presenting in just a minute. And it's everything that I'm going to present in here, along with maybe a little deeper explanation, and then some prompts to help you think about how you want to handle it. This week, we'd be talking about your own business finances. So that may be a valuable resource. You'll find a link there. And also, we have an assessment. So if you're not sure which of the 21 steps you're maybe ready for versus need some more help in, that's what the assessment is for. So enough of those PSAs. PSA number 2, community. Yes, all about community. And it's been exciting to watch how this manifests in the LinkedIn Live world. And what's been happening is we have a really great, robust commenting community. I see Patrick and Cheryl are already in the mix. And yes, please drop a note in the comments if you're here. Let us know who you are, where you are, what you're building, and would love to hear more as you follow along. Also, please all connect with each other because, again, this only works with community. Having resources out on the internet is all fine and good, but nothing beats having people to talk to about this kind of stuff. So Thrive Hive is where that is at. All right, I think that's all my PSA. So I will jump in. And as I mentioned, today we're really combining 2 of the 21 steps. And that is one, separating your personal and your business finances, and then actually managing those business finances. So step 12, I'll go ahead and push that up and we'll start walking through it. All right. So when it comes to your business and personal finances, the first step you can do to really make your life easier is to separate your personal and your business. And it may sound like a lot, but it really reduces the effort it takes in order to see your business finances, to do your business taxes, all of those things. And so really, when you mix them, you don't have a clear picture of anything and you're just kind of guessing, which is, common in the beginning. But it takes a lot to unravel those combined business and personal expenses down the road. So the sooner you get that separation, the better off you'll be. Now, for myself, my first career was in accounting. So it was kind of a non-starter for me. Like, I can't even launch a business until I have a business bank account and until I have, QuickBooks for me in order to keep track of everything. And that was really essential in order to get started. And you might be thinking like, okay, well, when should I open my bank account? And I would say as soon as you start spending money. Bank accounts typically are low cost or free, depending on the situation. And the sooner you get that separation, the sooner you have clarity on what you're doing. Typically, you'll need your EIN. Um, You'll need your EIN or your social security number to get started, your business government ID. But yeah, as soon as you start spending money, it really sets you up to not have to think about things later. And that's really the whole thing behind the separating your personal and business expenses is it gets to be really tricky when you're looking at 12 months worth of statements and going, oh, what was that subscription and where was it? And now I need to move it. So if you get in front of it by having the two accounts, now it makes it super easy to be like, okay, well, when it's this, I charge it here. And when it's there, I charge it there. Now, you might think it makes it harder in order to maybe put personal funds into your business account. It doesn't. Those transfers can still happen. It's just intentional. Also, what happens if you accidentally put it on the wrong card? Not a big deal. Those transfers are easy to make, but then you're making a single correction versus maybe 50 times that correction because everything was put into one bucket instead of being split initially. So just because you have a business account doesn't mean you can't use the personal for business and vice versa. It just means you're going to be more intentional and you're going to have less work to unwind it down the road. All right. So then you might be wondering like, okay, well, how do I get started? I'm convinced. And you do have a few options on where to open your business account. You could start with a local credit union or a small bank in your area. They're usually cheap options that work just fine. However, if you go with a bigger bank such as Chase or Capital One who have business accounts, you might find you get a few more features that help you run your business. And so that's one spot to start looking is, what is going to support you and your business. And if the bank where you do your personal checking has a great business account, go ahead and go for it. If you're looking for something that maybe has some more features or benefits for small business owners, and looking at some of those corporate accounts may be able to help you out. So you're looking at things such as, does it connect to QuickBooks? Can I download a CVS or a comma separated value sheet or Excel? Do they do invoicing? How many transactions? What's my minimum limit? So a lot of different things go into deciding on where you want to have your business account. And sometimes it feels easier to have it as the same bank as your personal account, and that is totally fine. You can ask ChatGPT for help too. It's like in my local area, what business accounts make sense for where I'm at today, and to get some support there. So what I want you to think about at this phase is where you're at, whether you have your finances separated or not, is given what you have, can you easily get to how much revenue did you get this month? How much did you spend in expenses? Do you know your profit? If it's hard to answer that question because your personal and business expenses are kind of combined and smashed together, that may be a signal that it's time to think about how to break those apart to make your life easier. All right, so that's why this was combined with the next lesson, because that was super short and sweet. So with that, I'll pull that workbook down and we'll jump to the next one, which is getting to nobody's favorite topic. It's my favorite topic. I shouldn't say nobody, but working in small business bookkeeping for a while now. I know it's not a very popular topic a lot of the time, but let's see if we can change that for some folks. All right. So we're really talking about how do we track what's going on in our business? And it's really about having clarity into what you're doing as a business. Because when you have clarity, then you make better decisions, whether it is how much you draw for personal reasons, or I should say for your owner draw, what you pay yourself, how you set money for taxes aside, whether to invest in a new subscription or not. All of these decisions become a lot easier when you understand where you are financially. And you don't have to have the CPA doing your books, for $500-$600 a month at this phase. Like there's easier, softer options, and that's what we're going to look at. And I really kind of think about it in terms of, it's like going on a diet without ever weighing yourself or tracking calories. You might lose weight, but it's probably going to be a lot harder. Or trying to lower your cholesterol, but never actually going in and checking the numbers. You don't know how you're doing. So it's really know your numbers and starting with your business finances. And I will say that, maybe it's good enough to have an Excel spreadsheet where you're tracking all of this stuff. And we'll go into a little bit more into that in just a second. Or maybe it's even just having a journal if you're somebody who's very tactical and likes to write stuff down. But what you're really trying to get to with your business is, do we know how much we are getting in revenue, and do we know how much we're spending? Do we know our profit? And that's the first step. Now, there's more that goes into it when we start talking about balance sheet and equity. But at this point, I think just having that understanding of revenue, expenses, profit, that's going to guide 80% of your decisions. Now, there's more, again, it does get more complex than that. But if you're not doing anything, those are the first questions that you'll be able to answer that you find really help you. And so, looking at where you're at, and I kind of asked this with the bank account, it's like, can you answer the question? Do you know your income? Do you know your expenses? And that difference, that's your profit. And if you don't know that, what would it take for you to find out? And so working with small business owners for a while now, I know a lot of folks are, I look at my bank balance every day, or I, glance at my bank statement every month. And that's giving you some insight to how much money you have today, but it's not giving you the fine points that'll help you make decisions down the road. So again, not everything has to be, the full blown, all of the things. Am I on the right page here? There we go. That's what I want to be. Sorry about that. And it's not like you need a fully boiled solution in order to know these things. There's some simple things you can do. And, spreadsheet versus software, choosing what's right. A spreadsheet can and does work for a lot of people. And I would say it's better than not doing anything. But what I will say is, if you are on the spreadsheet path, one of your easy options is to download your transactions from the bank, and then you can classify those in Excel or Sheets, whatever you're using, and you can find some information that way. So you don't have to key everything because it exists in your bank. So how can you get the data from the bank into that so that you're able to just okay, let's categorize, let's do some summary, some addition, see what's going on, and find out where we are. Now, I will say for spreadsheets or software, actually, we'll go into the software. Nope, sorry, backtracking on that. So one thing I want to talk about before we get into software is the challenge is finding the right software that has the features you need without too much, that doesn't cost more than it needs to cost. One of the things that I'm a big proponent of is, again, I think most solopreneurs at early stages don't need a full-time bookkeeper. The right software will get them where they need to be. However, this is a cautionary tale. If you're not sure how the software works and how to set it up, you may create a bigger mess. And I saw that personally twice this year. I ended up doing a couple bookkeeping cleanups just last month, tax month. And in one case, it was he had QuickBooks Online, he had the bank feeds all hooked up, but there was also a lot of this other stuff going on that was creating duplicate transactions. And he knew that. When he looked at his income statement, he's like, that doesn't match what I have on my client tracking spreadsheet, but I'll deal with that later. And by the time later came along and I came in, it was a big old mess in order to clean it up. Now, that could have easily been prevented if he had had some support in getting set up and understanding what is the process to invoice to get the money back in, how does Gusto integrate, if all those things had been properly mapped out ahead of time, would have avoided that huge problem. And then in the other case, I had a client who had QuickBooks Online, and she had like hooked all of her bank accounts, personal and business, into it. And so by the time I came in, there was a whole lot of transactions, and it was really hard to tell what was business and what was personal. And in that case, I kind of said, you know what, let's just take a step back. Tell me what your monthly expenses are. And let me look at just what we know to be business and rebuild from there. And so both of those are examples where like the software can really help you, but if you have a little bit of guidance. And I will say, we'll talk more about different software options. QuickBooks is probably the worst offender because it was meant for accountants. You have full accounting shops that are using it. And so if you don't have an accounting background and you pull this up, then you're probably going to be a little lost and maybe do a couple things wrong. And I like to use the example, if I were to pull up AutoCAD, which is a architect drawing thing, I would probably break everything because that's not my expertise. And so if you're not familiar with accounting or have had some instruction in QuickBooks, diving in deep to QuickBooks without more help can cause some issues. So that's my story on that one. Now let's start looking at what our options are here. All right, so I wanted to look at what some of the actual software is. And in terms of cost and complexity, features, all of those kinds of things. So QuickBooks Online, again, it's the golden Cadillac that will do everything you need it to do. However, if you're not sure how everything works together, you can get in trouble pretty quick. It's a little complex to learn. So if you ever opened up QuickBooks and started like looking at it and you went, oh my God, I hate this, this does nothing for me. It's because it was trying to do too much and there wasn't any guidance on how to make just what you need accessible and easy to use. And so that's one of the downsides of QuickBooks Online. And many people have been there. So if you've been there, I opened it up, I got confused, I shut it down, I canceled it. You're not alone. Many people do that. There are a couple other options out there that folks like. Xero comes up often enough, has a good kind of in-between solution. And then one I haven't used personally, but I really love the idea of it. Sorry, I have to look at my Wave. There we go. Wave. So this is free. It's just a simple way, like put in your expenses, get some basic reporting out of it. And so if you're early stage, maybe Wave is where you start. And then when things start picking up, when there's some income, when there's some more transactions, when there's more decisions, convert to something like Xero or QuickBooks. So that's one way you can get ahead of this. I will say this, the simpler the solution, probably the less hands-on help you need getting started. And all of these have tutorials and information available to you. Now, I do want to say one thing about QuickBooks, though, and this is what I personally have started using for my own clients that are at this stage. So QuickBooks has the secret subscription called Ledger that's only $10 a month. However, you can't get it yourself. You can only get it through an accountant. So I'm not the only one that's doing this, but it's something I offer where it's like, you know what, your QuickBooks Ledger will be paid for through me, but the cost is only $10. And then I can provide some support to you. And for example, with my own offer, do it yourself supported, where you're doing all the work, but I come in and make sure that everything's kind of clear. Do you have any questions? Do you need any adjustments that you need support with? And then that's $50 a month. And so that's kind of that stepping stone of, you don't need the $300 accountant. You're not quite there yet. At some point you might. We'll talk about when you know what that is, but there's some options out there. And what I liked about the QuickBooks on this offer is it gives me a way to support the solopreneur that is simple, because my focus is like, don't look at all of the bells and whistles. These are the 3 things that we're going to look at, and here's how we're going to step in every month. And then it simplifies it. So you're not trying to use all these features that aren't really supporting you where you are, and you're doing it at a cost that is affordable. And in this case, with the $50 a month do it yourself supported, for about the same price as QuickBooks Simple Start, you're getting the level of QuickBooks you need plus support to get started. So that's an option out there. And like I said, I've seen other people offering similar models. What I want you to have is support in using a tool so that you're using it in a way that helps you and you don't end up in one of those other 2 scenarios, or just giving up after 3 months and saying, I hate QuickBooks, it doesn't work. It works. sometimes it works when it's set up for you specifically. Yeah, and then it's hard to learn because it's very feature rich. There's a lot going on. And again, it was built for accountants. It wasn't built for the small business owner. So they may claim otherwise. I'm going to say no. That's just the way it is. All right. And what else do we have here? So kind of looking at, kind of curious where folks are right now with their own books. So are you just getting started? Are you still using spreadsheets and bank statements? Are you starting to think about, I could use a little bit more visibility? Or are you like, yeah, I'm ready. I need something better. So I'm going to ask for a quick drop in the chat if you're there in the comments. And by the way, if you've joined since I got started, please do share in the comments who you are, where you are, what you're building, because we want to all connect with each other so we can continue to learn from each other. All right, and while I'm waiting for those comments, I'll talk about leaning into ChatGPT or your AI of choice. Is you can have a conversation like, here's where I'm at, here's what I know. I don't have books yet. What are some of my options? What are some of my benefits? Like, we have an opportunity to learn a little bit more, because the goal is to get out of financial fog into financial clarity, so that, again, you can make better decisions about your business. But not only that, when you do have the right bookkeeping solution in place, then you have an income statement and a balance sheet that any provider can read. So whether you're trying to get a loan or working with investors, any of those things, those are the foundational tools that they look at, and they're ready. You don't have to do a cleanup or retrofit or figure it out. Like, it just is happening month to month, and that's what we're looking for. All right. And so talking about month to month, it's really about making it a habit. So one of the worst things, even for myself, I have to think about is making sure that I'm keeping on top of it. And so one of the things that you can do is have 15 minutes once a week. I'm going to go look at my transactions, categorize them, making sure everything's fine. And when you do it on that cadence, 15 minutes a week, easy peasy, not a problem. For myself, I tend to go monthly, just because once a month I'm going in and dealing with each of my clients and then my own. But you'll find your sweet spot. I will say, when I do it monthly, it's like maybe I'm spending a half hour to an hour, or I am having to go track something down from 3 weeks ago, where if I just looked weekly, it would be handled. So as long as you're doing it regularly, at least once a month, you're going to be in way better shape than than doing it sporadically or not at all. But that weekly 15-minute, that's a really sweet point, because it's fresh. And I've had this with clients before, where I reach out to a client and say, okay, there's two charges that are about $45. Do you know what they are? And it's like, no, it's fraud. And then, oh, actually, wait. Oh, I think I know what that is. But when you do this on a cadence about once a week, then you tend to remember what those charges are, can get them classified without that fear factor. And part of the reason I think this is so important is really understanding what is happening in your books, because when we don't look at it, when we just kind of let things go, then things creep in. That subscription that you thought you canceled, or the annual subscription you'd forgotten about, and now it hit your books. And so the more frequent the check-ins, the quicker you'll find these things that will help you understand. And welcome, Rob from Portugal. Hey, you're my neighbor. I'm in Spain. We'll have to meet for coffee in the middle somewhere. So there's just so many things that can trip us up when we're not diligent about understanding all of the things that are hitting our business when it comes to the finances. And so having this, the processes, whether it be once a week, I download my transactions from the bank and manually do it, or I use QuickBooks or Wave or any of those other solutions. It's just being able to get insights into what those are and being able to classify them, so that when I ask you, do you know your income and your expenses from last month? You're like, I do, whatever that looks like for you. So that's the name of the game, because again, when we have that, then decisions get to be easier. mistakes in our bank account are quicker to spot and resolve, whether it is the subscription that we were supposed to cancel and it didn't happen, or maybe there is a surprise that needs to be dealt with. The sooner you see it, the sooner it gets dealt with. All right. So yeah, that's about all that I had for this. So hopefully you got some ideas about, one, the benefits of really getting in front of your business finances. And again, it's clarity, it's to avoid surprises, it's to be ready for taxes, investors, loans, whatever the case is. And it's to be able to make decisions that truly support your business. I'll give you one last example. I have a bookkeeping client, and when I did his books in January, and I'm like, okay, well, there you had a $6,300 profit in January. He's like, wait, what? I did? He's like, you mean I can afford to go higher? It's like, yeah, you can. And flying blind, he would be like, I kind of have a feel for what my cash flow is like, but to actually have that clarity of this business is profitable at that level, now he can hire support to move forward. So that's the benefit of the bookkeeping. All right, so that is it for my bit. Feel free to drop any questions as I kind of wrap up. And thank you for joining again today for Thrive Hive Live, where we're going over the nuts and bolts. And then just another plug for the community. So really about community, please connect with each other if you've been dropping stuff in the comments. And if you want a bigger community to lead into, to be like, what bookkeeping solution are you using? How's that working for you? Thrive Hive is the place to be. And there's a free offer for 45 days in the description. So please join us. And with that, see, I'm sticking to my 30 minutes. I'm pretty good at that. I will say have a great rest of your Monday, and we will see you here next week to talk about service agreements, but more importantly, how they help you save your sanity. But I have a great client story on that one as well. So look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, everybody.